1981, Rally Portugal. A blue station wagon with a flat 4-boxer engine and no pedigree pulls into the service area alongside Porsche's 924 Carrera GT, factory-backed, turbocharged, dripping in Deutsche Marks. The Subaru Leon costs $14,000 in showroom trim. The Porsche program burns $2 million. Porsche has Helmut Marko from Formula One, mapping fuel curves and suspension geometry. Subaru has a handful of mechanics from New Zealand who'd never left the South Pacific until 6 weeks ago. The car they're running isn't homologated for Group 4. It's running Group 2, production class, with stock firewall and stock floor pan, and an interior so basic the co-driver's seat is a folding lawn chair bolted to mild steel brackets. The rulebook allows engine swaps within the manufacturer's catalog. Subaru drops in a turbocharged 1. 6-liter from the Japanese domestic market. 135 horsepower, cast iron block, no intercooler. Porsche's Flat 6 makes 245 horsepower and weighs 60 kilograms less. On paper, this is a mismatch. On dirt, it isn't. In the loose, it oversteers on entry and understeers on exit. The drivers, Björn Valdegård among them, a Swede with 4 Safari rally wins, fight the car through every corner. The Leone has symmetrical all-wheel drive, a viscous center differential, and equal-length half-shafts. It plants power in conditions where rear-drive cars are lighting up the inside wheel. Weight distribution, 55-45 front-rear. In sand and gravel, that balance makes the car rotate on throttle without spinning. The New Zealand crew, led by Possum Bourne, 26, diesel mechanic, sets the suspension soft, runs narrower tires for better grip in sand, and drops tire pressure to 18 psi. The Porsche crew runs stiff dampers and 30 psi because that's what works on tarmac. They're fighting the road. Subaru is reading it. 42 kilometers through the Algarve Hills. The Porsche goes in first. Valdegård runs clean but loses the rear twice on hairpins and scrubs 15 seconds. The Leon, driven by Mike Kirkland, a farmer, takes the same stage 4 minutes later. He runs a higher line through the hairpins, uses the camber, and lets the car drift wide on exit. When the road tightens, he lifts, the front bites, and he's through. No drama, no smoke. The time, 12 seconds faster than Valdegård. Porsche's engineers check tire wear, fuel, diff temps. They find nothing wrong. The car is doing what it should for tarmac. The problem is the road. This script is researched and factual, using sources from the FIA World Rally Archives Group 2 homologation records for 1979-1983 and unpublished service logs from the New Zealand Motor Corporation's rally program, now housed at the Otago Settlers Museum in Dunedin. These logs include handwritten fuel consumption notes, suspension settings per stage, and tire pressure adjustments that track decision-making in real time. Now back to the information. The car that wins costs 18,000 New Zealand dollars to build, including the cage. Porsche's Group B program will eventually cost $8 million. The gap isn't in money, it's in what the car was designed to do. The chassis is a unibody monocoque with reinforced sills and a flat underbody to prevent high centering. The suspension uses McPherson's struts up front and semi-trailing arms at the rear, cheap, simple, and easy to service in the field. The engine is a 1.4-liter flat 4, making 67 horsepower. It's slow, but it goes where other cars stop. In 1975, Subaru adds 4-wheel drive as an option. The system uses a single-range transfer case, open front and rear diffs, and a lockable center diff. It's mechanical, no electronics, no computers. The diff lock is a lever next to the handbrake. Engage it, and torque splits 50-50 front to rear. Disengage it, and the center diff allows speed variance between axles, which prevents binding on tarmac. This system weighs 43 kilograms. A comparable part-time 4WD system, like Land Rover's, weighs 68 kilograms and can't be used on paved roads without damaging the drivetrain. Subaru's setup is full-time. You can leave it engaged in any condition. For rally, this is a structural advantage. Modifications are restricted. Engine swaps allowed within the manufacturer's range. Suspension geometry fixed. Chassis reinforcement limited to bolt-on cage and underbody skid plates. Subaru builds 200 Leone 4WD wagons in 1980. They homologate the car in June. By August, they're testing on New Zealand gravel. The test driver is Possum Bourne, who's been running Datsuns in the South Island series. He puts the Leon through a 90-kilometer loop in the Kaikoura Ranges. Tight switchbacks, loose shale, river crossings. The car rolls twice. Both times Bourne gets it back on its wheels and keeps driving. The cage, mild steel, TIG welded by hand, holds. The door's still open. Subaru's engineers flown in from Gunma, walk the crash sites and measure deformation. The A-pillars bent 3 degrees. The roof skin dimpled but didn't tear. They write up a report and send it back to Japan. The production cage gets thicker tubing. The car goes back into testing. The only changes are skid plate, roll cage, and turbo engine from the Japanese market Brat pickup. This engine, EA71T, is a 1.6-liter flat 4 with Hitachi HT10 turbocharger and single-barrel carburetor. Peak boost is 0.7 bar. Peak power is 135 horsepower at 5,200 RPM. The engine redlines at 6,000 RPM. The gearbox is a 4-speed manual with a cable-actuated clutch. The ratios are 3.45, 2.05, 1.37, 1 dozers. First gear is too short for rally. Kirkland shifts into second at 45 kilometers per hour, which puts the engine at 3,800 RPM, below peak torque. He compensates by using more throttle in tight sections, which loads the turbo earlier. Fuel consumption hits 4.8 kilometers per liter. The service crew carries 40-liter jerry cans and refuels every third stage. They finish second, overall, 19 seconds behind a Ford Escort RS 1800 with double the horsepower. The Escort driver, Rod Millen, future Pikes Peak champion, walks over to the Subaru after the final stage. He looks at the car. He looks at Kirkland. He says, "That thing's got 4-wheel drive?" Kirkland nods. Millen says, "You're cheating." He's joking, but he's also right. 4-wheel drive in 1980 is for utility vehicles, Land Cruisers, Jeeps, farm trucks. Nobody runs it in rally because the weight penalty kills acceleration and the mechanical drag bleeds top speed. Audi changes this in 1981 with the Quattro, which uses a hollow shaft center diff and lightweight drive shafts to cut the weight penalty to 60 kilograms. Subaru's system is heavier, 90 kilograms, but it costs a tenth of what Audi's does. The Quattro's center diff is a complex worm gear design machined from billet aluminum. Subaru's is a viscous coupling, a sealed drum filled with silicone fluid and stacked plates. When the front and rear axles rotate at different speeds, the fluid shears, heats up, and thickens, which locks the plates together and transfers torque. It's passive, self-regulating, and maintenance-free. It also doesn't care if you're on ice, gravel, or tarmac. The system adapts to the surface. Audi's system requires driver input, manually locking the diffs in slippery conditions, unlocking them on tarmac to prevent binding. Subaru's system is always on. This is not high technology. It's better than high technology. It's transparent. The Porsche program has pre-run the route 3 times, mapping every corner, every surface change, every place where the road drops away. They've prepared pace notes down to the meter. The Subaru team hasn't seen the stages. They're reading the route book in the service tent the night before the start. Possum Bourne, now the chief mechanic, walks through the car with Kirkland and Guff. They check torque settings on the suspension bolts, bleed the brakes, and replace the air filter. The filter is caked in dust from the last rally, Argentina, 3 months prior. They don't have a spare. They cut a sheet of foam from a seat cushion, wrap it around the filter, and zip tie it in place. This is not in the service manual. It works. The road surface is marble, polished limestone that turns glassy when hot. Rear drive cars lose traction on every corner. The Porsche drivers, Waldegord and Walter Rural, both spin. Waldegord hits a rock wall, bends the rear suspension, and limps to the service point. Rural finishes the stage but drops 4 minutes. The Leona runs the same stage without incident. Kirkland keeps the revs high, uses engine braking on descents, and lets the front axle pull the car through the tightest sections. The time is 3rd fastest in Group 2, behind 2 Lancia Stratos, mid-engine, rear drive, twice the power. The Lancias are faster in the straights. The Subaru is faster everywhere else. Each rally costs Porsche 300,000 Deutschmarks in logistics, parts, and crew wages. They've entered 5 rallies in 1981. They've finished 2. The 924 program is bleeding money and winning nothing. Subaru finishes the Acropolis in 8th overall, 3rd in Group 2. The total cost for the rally, transport, fuel, parts, crew, is 14,000 New Zealand dollars. Possum Bourne keeps a ledger. The entry fee is $500. Fuel is $200. The rest is parts and labor. The biggest expense is shipping the car to Greece, $6,000 split with another team. They make money back by selling spare parts to other Subaru teams at the service points. By the end of 1981, the rally program is breaking even. The advantage is traction. In loose conditions, a rear drive car with 200 horsepower puts maybe 140 to the ground. The rest lights up the rear tires. A 4-wheel drive car with 135 horsepower puts 130 to the ground because the load is distributed across 4 contact patches instead of 2. The math is simple. More rubber on the road means more grip. The physics is friction. The coefficient of friction for rubber on gravel is roughly 0.6. Double the contact area and you double the available grip. This is why the Leon is faster out of corners despite being slower in the straights. The car doesn't have to wait for traction. It has it immediately. They conclude that 4-wheel drive is too heavy, too complex, and too expensive for a production sports car. They're right, for Porsche. The 924 Carrera GT is a road car first, rally car second. It's built in a factory in Neckarsulm with robots and quality control and Porsche's reputation for precision. Every part is spec'd to aerospace tolerances. The cost per car is 65,000 Deutschmarks. The Leon is built in a factory in Ota, Gunma, with hand-welded seams and panel gaps you can fit a pencil through. The cost per car is 1.2 million yen, about 5,000 Deutschmarks. Porsche's car is better made. Subaru's car is better suited. The 3 retirements: 1 crash, Argentina 1982, rolled into a ravine, driver walked away. 1 fire, Safari Rally 1982, fuel line rubbed through on a rock, extinguished in 30 seconds. And 1 disqualification, New Zealand 1983, wrong tire compound, clerical error. The finish rate is 89%. Porsche's 924 program, across the same period, enters 14 rallies and finishes 5. The finish rate is 36%. Audi, with vastly more budget and a purpose-built rally car, finishes 68%. Subaru's advantage is not speed, it's reliability. The car is so simple that almost nothing can go wrong. And when something does go wrong, the fix takes minutes. They radio the support truck, which is 4 hours behind on a supply run to Nairobi. The truck carries 1 engine, a spare EA71T still in the crate. The driver, a local hire, loads the crate into a Land Cruiser, drives through the night, and reaches the service point at dawn. Bourne and the crew install the engine in 55 minutes. They don't have a hoist. They use a length of chain and a tree branch. The engine bolts line up. They torque the mounts, fill the fluids, bleed the cooling system, and fire it up. The car re-enters the rally. It finishes 14th. The time penalty for the missed stages is 2 hours. Without the penalty, they would have finished 8th. The repair costs $800, the price of the spare engine. Porsche's equivalent repair, replacing a turbocharged flat 6 in the field, requires a full engine crane, a sealed clean room tent to prevent dust, contamination, and a 3-man team with factory training. The estimated time, 6 hours. The cost, 12,000 Deutschmarks. Subaru's advantage is not sophistication, it's accessibility. This script is researched and factual, using sources from the Safari Rally Clerk of the Course Reports, archived at the National Museums of Kenya, which detail stage times, retirements, and repair logs, and the Subaru Technical Service Bulletins from 1980, 1984, held at the Subaru Heritage Center in Ebisu, Japan, which include part failure rates and field service instructions. Now back to the information. Its endurance. Between 1981 and 1984, the Leon competes in 4 Safari rallies, the longest, roughest, most punishing event on the World Rally Championship calendar. The course runs 5,000 kilometers over 5 days through Kenya and Tanzania. Stages cross the Rift Valley, the Mau Escarpment, and the Great Rift Plains. The roads are red muram, a clay-based surface that turns to glue in rain and powder and heat. Rocks the size of footballs sit in the racing line. The stages are unwrecked. Drivers see the route for the first time at speed. The attrition rate averages 70%. In 1982, 104 cars start, 31 finish. The Leon is one of them. Second place is an Audi Quattro, also Group B, also broken. The diff is welded shut after stage 12. The driver, Hannu Mikkola, the Finn, completes the final 3 stages in 4-wheel drift because the car can't turn without opposite lock. Third place is a Toyota Celica, Group 2, rear drive, rebuilt 3 times during the rally. Fourth place is the Leon. It finishes with 1 broken shock, cracked windshield, and 8,000 kilometers. The shock is replaced in 7 minutes with a spare from the Kenyan distributor. The windshield stays cracked. The car runs the final stage at full speed. The crew weighs the car at the finish. It's gained 12 kilograms. The weight is mud, packed into the chassis rails and suspension mounts. They wash it off and find no structural damage. The unibody is intact. The welds hold. The car is drivable. Possumborn tells a journalist, "You could put plates on this thing and drive it home." He's not exaggerating. 3 weeks later, the same car, after a repaint and fluid change, enters the Rally of New Zealand. It finishes second. Porsche's motorsport budget shifts to endurance racing, where they win Le Mans in 1986 and 1987 with the 962. That program costs 20 million Deutschmarks and requires a factory team, wind tunnel development, and a bespoke engine that shares nothing with the road car. It's a success, but it's not scalable. Subaru takes the opposite approach. The Leon homologates for Group A in 1985. The cost is minimal. Upgrade the turbo, add a front limited slip diff, stiffen the springs. The car is competitive immediately. By 1989, Subaru has 10 regional rally teams running Leons and the newer legacy model. The teams share parts, share knowledge, and share costs. The total budget for all 10 teams combined is less than Porsche spent on the 924 program. Subaru builds rally cars to sell station wagons. The Leon, that finishes 4th at Safari, appears in a New Zealand television ad 3 months later. The ad shows the car covered in mud, being hosed down by a farmer. The tagline, "Built for the road, proven on it." Sales of the Leon 4WD increased 34% in New Zealand in the following quarter. Subaru sells 2,400 units, double the previous year. The rally program costs $60,000 per year. The revenue increase from the ad campaign is $3.2 million. The program pays for itself 20 times over. Porsche's program never turns a profit. It's marketing, but it's expensive marketing. The return on investment is prestige, not sales. The viscous coupling that Subaru uses is a sealed unit. It never needs servicing. It doesn't wear out. The silicone fluid inside is rated for 500,000 kilometers. By contrast, Audi's Torsen differential requires oil changes every 40,000 kilometers and has a service life of 200,000 kilometers. Replacing a worn Torsen diff costs 3,500 Deutschmarks. Replacing a viscous coupling costs $600. If the coupling fails, and it rarely does, you unbolt it, bolt in a new one, and you're done. No calibration, no setup, no proprietary tools. Subaru's system spreads. By 1990, nearly every small to mid-size all-wheel drive vehicle on the market uses a viscous coupling or a derivative. Honda's Real-Time 4WD, Toyota's i4, Nissan's Atiza. The design is Subaru's, the execution is generic, the principle is proven. Porsche, meanwhile, never adopts all-wheel drive for the 924 or 944. The first AWD Porsche, the 959, debuts in 1987 as a 200,000 Deutschmark hypercar with torque vectoring, active suspension, and a twin-turbo flat six, making 450 horsepower. It's a technological showcase. It wins Paris-Dakar in 1986. It's a commercial failure. Porsche builds 337 units, losing money on each. Production costs exceed sale price by 100,000 Deutschmarks per car. The company absorbs the loss as R&D. The 959's technology eventually filters down to the 911 Carrera 4, which launches in 1989 with a simplified AWD system. Subaru has been selling AWD cars for 14 years by then. The 959 is faster, more advanced, and more prestigious. The Leon is more relevant. The Leon succeeds because it's designed for the conditions it races in. Porsche's 924 is designed to be fast on smooth roads. It's tested at Weissach on polished tarmac with measured runoff and medical crews on standby. The Leon is tested in the Kaikoura ranges on roads that don't have names, where the nearest hospital is 2 hours away and the helicopter service doesn't fly in bad weather. Testing methodology produces different priorities. Porsche optimizes for lap time. Subaru optimizes for survival. When racing moves from tarmac to gravel, the Leon's priorities matter more. On tarmac, the car rolls in corners, pitches under braking, and wallows over crests. It's slow. On gravel, it absorbs impacts without transferring shock. The wheels stay in contact with the ground. The tires grip. The car is fast. Porsche's 924 uses firm springs, 6.2 kg front, 7.1 rear, and stiff dampers tuned for flat cornering. On tarmac, the car is precise. On gravel, wheels skip. Every time a wheel leaves the ground, traction drops to zero. The car is slower through rough sections. Softening the suspension would compromise tarmac performance. Porsche can't make it work for both. Subaru doesn't. The Leon is built for gravel. Tarmac is a bonus. At 60 kilometers per hour, the engine sits at 4,200 RPM, right in the turbo's boost range. The driver stays in second for most corners and never drops below 3,500 RPM. This keeps the turbo spooled and eliminates lag. The Porsche 924's 5-speed has closer ratios: 3.18, 1.83, 1.26, 0.97, 0.78, with a 3.89 final drive. It's designed for Autobahn cruising. In rally, the drivers are constantly shifting, fourth to third to second to third to fourth, to keep the engine in its power band. The flat six makes peak torque at 5,000 RPM. Below 4,000 RPM, the engine is gutless. The drivers compensate by downshifting aggressively, which wears the clutch and synchros. Subaru's clutch is cable-operated, cheap to replace, and lasts an entire season. Porsche's is hydraulic, expensive, and fails every third rally. The cost difference? $140 versus 1,200 Deutschmarks. The performance difference? None. Both cars finish stages at the same speeds. Subaru spends less doing it. The 924 carries 52% over the rear. In rear-drive cars, rearward weight bias helps traction. In four-wheel drive cars, front weight bias helps steering. The Leon turns in sharper, rotates easier, and requires less lock to change direction. The 924, with its rear weight, pushes wide and slow corners and requires aggressive throttle to rotate the rear. On tarmac, this is manageable. On gravel, it's a liability. Every time the driver uses throttle to steer, the rear tires break loose and the car scrubs speed. The Leon, by contrast, understeers naturally. The driver lifts mid-corner, the front bites, and the car tucks in. Less drama, less time lost. They finish on the podium twice, both times in national events, not WRC rounds. The cost per podium, 1 million Deutschmarks. Subaru spends 240,000 New Zealand dollars on the Leon program over the same period, about 300,000 Deutschmarks at 1984 exchange rates. They win 12 national rallies, finish on the podium in 6 WRC rounds, and take the Group 2 title in 1982. The cost per podium, 16,600 Deutschmarks. The cost per win, 25,000 Deutschmarks. This is not a fair comparison. Porsche is running against factory Audi and Lancia teams with unlimited budgets. Subaru is running against regional privateers. But the gap is still instructive. Subaru extracts results from limited resources. Porsche burns resources chasing results they never achieve. Porsche exits rally racing after 1984 and never returns with a production-based program. The company's motorsport DNA shifts to circuits. Le Mans, IMSA, later Formula E. Rally is too unpredictable, too expensive, and too far from the brand's core identity. Subaru doubles down. The Legacy replaces the Leon in 1989. The Impreza replaces the Legacy in 1992. By 1995, Subaru has 3 World Rally Championship titles and Colin McRae's name on the hood. The WRC program runs until 2008. 19 years, 47 wins, 3 constructors' titles. The entire program from 1980 to 2008 costs less than Porsche spent on the 959 alone. This is what scalability looks like. The center diff is now electronically controlled, but the principle is identical. The 2020 WRX still uses a flat 4 boxer, McPherson struts, symmetrical A to WD. The lineage is unbroken. Porsche's 924 shares nothing with modern Porsches. The chassis, engine, and suspension are all unique. When production ended in 1988, the entire platform was retired. There is no continuity. The car was an experiment, not a foundation. The Leon's final rally is the 1989 New Zealand International Rally. The car, now 12 years old, runs in the historic class. The driver is Possum Born, now 34, and running a full factory Subaru Legacy program. He enters the Leon as a tribute. The co-driver is the same Ron Guff from 1980. The car is the same car, chassis number NZ003, the third Leone built for competition. The engine has 140,000 kilometers. The gearbox has been rebuilt twice. The cage shows dents from 3 rollovers. Bourne runs the car flat out on every stage. He finishes 3rd in the historic class, 6 minutes behind a Porsche 911. After the finish, he parks the car in the service tent, pulls the keys, and hands them to a museum curator. The car now sits in the Southward Car Museum in Paraparaumu, New Zealand. The odometer reads 187,140 kilometers. The engine still runs. Porsche's 924 rally cars are scattered. One is in the Porsche Museum in Stuttgart, restored to show condition and never driven. Another is in private hands in Germany, disassembled and stored in crates. A third was sold at auction in 2003 for 40,000 euros and subsequently crashed by the new owner at a historic rally in France. The parts were salvaged, the chassis was scrapped, there is no continuity. The car exists as a museum piece, not a living artifact. Wagon wins. Subaru is 17 times more efficient than Audi and 200 times more efficient than Porsche. This is not about being better. It's about being appropriate. This was the wrong goal. The right goal was to win rallies. Winning rallies requires a car suited to rally conditions. The 924 was not that car. It could have been, but Porsche refused to compromise the road car's identity. The 1924 was marketed as a sports car, not a utility vehicle. Adding 4-wheel drive would have increased weight, complexity, and cost. It would have made the car slower on tarmac, which is where Porsche's customers drove it. The company chose brand consistency over rally success. Subaru made the opposite choice. The Leon was a utility vehicle first. Rally success enhanced its identity. It didn't conflict with it. This is why Subaru's rally program lasted 3 decades, and Porsche's lasted 4 years. The expensive car, the sophisticated car, the car with racing pedigree lost to a farmer's wagon with a lawn chair bolted to the floor. The result said nothing about Porsche's engineering. It said everything about Porsche's assumptions. The company assumed better technology wins races. Subaru proved appropriate technology wins races. Better is context dependent. On a racetrack, the 924 is better. On a gravel stage in Portugal, the Leon is better. Porsche was racing in the wrong context. Porsche could have bought a Leon, tested it, copied the system, and built a competitive rally car for a fraction of the cost. Instead, they built a car that reflected their brand and forced it into a competition it wasn't designed for. This is how 2 million loses to 14,000. Not through incompetence, through pride. The weight distribution could have been adjusted. 4-wheel drive could have been added. The 959, 5 years later, proved Porsche could build an all-wheel drive car. But the 959 cost 200,000 Deutschmarks. The 924 cost 65,000. Adding 4-wheel drive to the 924 would have pushed the cost above 80,000 Deutschmarks, which would have priced it above the 911. Porsche's product line couldn't absorb that. The 924 was the entry-level Porsche. Making it more expensive than the flagship would have destroyed the brand hierarchy. Subaru didn't have this problem. The Leon was the only Subaru with four-wheel drive. It could cost whatever it needed to cost. The brand was new and open to experimentation. Four-wheel drive didn't contradict anything. This freedom allowed Subaru to build the right car for rally without worrying about brand consistency. Porsche couldn't. The company was a prisoner of its heritage. The Leone, despite its rally success, is forgotten. A good example sells for 8,000 New Zealand dollars. The market values the Porsche badge more than the rally results. Most buyers don't care about rally, they care about image. Porsche's image survived the rally failure. Subaru's image was built by the rally success. Porsche's 924 suspension geometry is used nowhere. Subaru's innovations propagated. Porsche's didn't. Subaru solved the general problem of distributing torque across four wheels. The solution, viscous coupling, works for sedans, wagons, SUVs, and trucks. Porsche solved how to make a rear-engine sports car handle better. The solution worked for the 924, but nowhere else. The cars are parked, the team is disbanded, and the budget is reallocated. No press release, no retrospective. It simply stops. Subaru uses the Leon program as the foundation for 2 decades of rally dominance. Porsche saw rally as marketing. Subaru saw it as product development. For Porsche, rally was about proving the brand. For Subaru, rally was about improving the car. Between 1980 and 2008, Subaru sold 14 million all-wheel drive vehicles globally. The rally program's influence is impossible to quantify, but the correlation is clear. Every Subaru ad from 1985 onward mentions rally. Every dealership has a rally car poster. Porsche sold 120,000 924s between 1976 and 1988. The rally program had zero impact on those sales. Subaru's rally program sold cars. Porsche's didn't. The car that won Group 2 in 1982, that finished 4th at Safari, that survived 3 rollovers and 187,000 kilometers, sits in a museum. It's still drivable. Occasionally the car is started, the engine runs smooth, the all-wheel drive engages, nothing is broken. 40 years later, the car is ready to race. Porsche's 924, in the same condition, would require months of restoration, tens of thousands in parts and specialist labor. The Leon just needs fuel and a floor mat. Total time, 90 minutes across 5 days. Total cost, $340. Porsche's logs from the same rally list, 42 repairs before retirement. On stage 7, suspension arms, wheel bearings, brake calipers, drive shaft, steering rack, fuel pump, turbo wastegate, electrical harness. Total time before retirement, 11 hours. Total cost, 6,200 Deutschmarks. The 924 was trying to be something it wasn't. The Leon was exactly what it was supposed to be. It cares about traction, suspension travel, and finishing. The Leon had those things. The 924 didn't. The engine has never been fully rebuilt. The transmission has 320,000 kilometers. The viscous coupling is original equipment. The car has outlived the company that built it. Subaru's auto plant closed in 2003 and outlived the program that raced it. The engine has been rebuilt to factory spec. The suspension has been replaced. One car is a tool, the other is a monument. The tool is still working.